Hi, I'm Laura D. Pusey, the founder of Dippism Death in Practice. And this is the channel where we are talking the things on dying, death, life, and grief. Each week I answer a question and I say it as I see it, because, well, I've seen a lot. In the last video, I answered the question, should I speak to a psychic? If you have questions about that video, or you want me to answer a question for you, send me an email at deathinpractice@gmail.com. Okay, let us open the veil of luminescence. With the intention of infinite truths, by the pulse of sacred light, I call forth the veil of luminescence. I anchor this veil in sovereign light to transmute and contain all energetic imprints, attachments, and residues across all realms. The material plane, where grief etches into the body. The emotional plane, where sorrow swells and purges. The mental plane, where stories of loss seek resolution. The astral plane, where echoes of the departed linger. The interdimensional corridors, where ancestral and cosmic threads intertwine. The parallel universes, where grief and grace mirror each other. This veil, woven of remembrance and radiance, is encoded with clarity to discern what is yours and what is not. Containment to protect your field. Compassion to honour the sacred work of grief. Transmutation to alchemize pain into wisdom. Let this veil shimmer between worlds, holding space for the divinity of each soul, the teachings where presence dissolves suffering, the soul's awakening where death births depth, the healing where grief becomes grace. This veil is not a wall but a sacred membrane, allowing only what aligns with truth, love, and remembrance to pass through. By the breath of the infinite, by the pulse of the sacred, I seal this veil with sovereignty and light. Hey there, thank you for joining me. Okay, let's get straight into it. If you are hit with a dilemma, such as should I tell them, you are in a classic grief and trauma dilemma. This is an overwhelming situation where you are carrying the weight of information that can be helpful, but also heavy or potentially harmful. I think we've all been there at some point in our lives. However, when you throw death and grief into the mix, the concoction can be quite deadly, especially if you have information about a serious crime or a member of the family who has operated outside of the realms of acceptable behaviour. Now, it may be in bad taste, but this reminds me of the very troubled artist, Robert Kelly, who proclaimed that his mind was telling him no, but his body was telling him yes. Okay, it is to be noted that he did confess during that rather poetic ballad. However, his revelations were not exactly in direct correlation to the crimes that he was later jailed for. Anywho, more specifically, we do feel it when we are conflicted. The mind and body don't always agree. Remember, I'm always saying that our minds grieve and our bodies grieve. This isn't poetic metaphor. It's biology and psychology pulling in different directions, because the mind and the body are driven by different systems and they perform different jobs. Both the body and the mind have evolved to prioritize different kinds of survival. Okay, let's do something here. Close your eyes and imagine you are sitting at a board meeting with 3 people. If you don't want to close your eyes, you don't have to. You can draw it on paper instead if you like. To your left is PC, that is prefrontal cortex. PC is the manager of your reasoning ethics, consequences, and inhibitions. The next one is called LS, that's limbic system. She is in front of you and she is the manager of your emotions, your desires, your fears and attachments. The final person sitting to your right is referred to as BANS, short for brainstem and autonomic nervous system. He manages arousal, hunger, sex, fight, flight. Imagine that you are sitting with the 3 of them around a table having a discussion. Now the body is largely responding to LS and BANS. The mind is often the PC trying to apply the brakes. When those systems are aligned, life feels coherent, nice, sweet, irie. But when they're not, we experience inner conflict. I would advise you to start working within the system of your mind and bringing them and others to the table for discussion. They are literally waiting for your acknowledgement. Hear them all out, because they all have valid reasons for the work they do, for your feelings and your reactions. Sometimes they work harder than they should, or not hard enough, for reasons that you may not always be aware of until you actually sit down and work it out together. These are the aspects of you that create your self. When you talk about your self, you are talking about PC, LS and BANS and so many more aspects of you. They make up your character, your personality, your being. You might find the services of a hypnotherapist helpful for this work. I am a non-conventional hypnotherapist, and this is the kind of work that I'm deeply ingrained in, especially when working through the energy of grief. Seek out any kind of therapist who specializes in parts therapy. Check them out though. If there's no rapport between the 2 of you, find someone else. So, as I've explained, when we find ourselves in a dilemma, we feel it in our body and mind. When the dilemma is in relation to grief, trauma, moral injury, or exposure to disturbing material, the body is met with intensity, urgency, and fight or flight responses, while the mind may recoil to try and figure out what has happened and then judge. The split becomes very noticeable. It doesn't mean something is wrong, it just means that your system of self is under strain. Now, back to the dilemma. Information is light. It shines a light on all you do, allowing you to move forward with clarity. When you are holding information from others, you will feel heavy, like you have a millstone around your neck. It may be wise for you to lighten your load. So, should you tell them? You may be thinking that the information that you have got won't help the situation. It may be heavy or even harmful in some way. Let me explain what agency is. In truth, you probably already know what it is, but you might not know that it is called agency. So, agency is your personal capacity and right to make informed decisions and act upon them. Everyone has agency. That means everyone has the right to make informed decisions that provide the dignity to decide for oneself. I'll say that again. Everyone has agency. That means everyone has the right to make informed choices and decisions that provide the dignity to decide for oneself. In order to make an informed choice, you have to be informed. You can't make an informed decision if the information is withheld or absent in any way because there's no form of clarity. The person remains in the dark, in ignorance. Maybe there is suspicion, but there's no confirmation. Even if you don't think anything will come of it, knowing more of any story or situation can help someone make sense of their reality. The truth can reduce self-blame, confusion, or rumination. If the truth you are holding concerns their life, their loss, their choices, withholding can unintentionally become paternalistic. That means you're saying that you will decide what they can handle. Do you really have that right? Is this your story to control? When you are trying to avoid upset, that actually means that you are avoiding your own discomfort, conflict, or responsibility. This means that the pain you are trying to avoid is deepened for the person who remains in the dark, because the harm of not knowing is ongoing for them. Uncertainty can be more corrosive than painful clarity. We feel and often heal better with a difficult truth than with unanswered questions, because with the whole picture, we can decide what happens next. Now, there are some times when withholding information might be justified. If your evidence is based on speculation or unverified, it could introduce false hope, paranoia, or misdirected blame. If the person cannot act on it and cannot emotionally integrate it, then the information may wound them further. When we integrate, we harmonize. So information can help a person to harmonize within themselves, especially if the event has caused mystery or despair. Another reason why it can at times be better to withhold information is because knowing the truth or a bigger part of the story puzzle could significantly destabilize someone who is already at risk. For example, if someone experiencing acute mental health crises, suicidality, or inability to process information safely at that moment, the timing will be the deciding factor. There is a difference between withholding temporarily and never sharing. If the reason for not sharing the information that you have is primarily due to fear of conflict, fear of being blamed, fear of opening a can of worms, then the decision is likely about self-protection and not the protection of the grieving person or he who remains in the dark. Now, let's take some time to consider this thought. You don't know what might happen once you share the information that you have. You yourself might not be able to see a clear path for justice, but others might be able to. With the right information that they have, they may be able to use tools or resources that you aren't aware of or don't have access to. They themselves don't know what they have in their arsenal until the time comes to use it. And with the light of information, they may just see a clear path of action that allows them to use their agency more effectively. They may be able to recall information that was given but not acted upon, thus leading them in a completely different direction. Believing your information won't go anywhere is not the same as it won't matter. Legal outcomes aren't the only outcomes. Gaining emotional clarity through learning the truth helps us to gain real meaning, and it might just provide closure. And closure doesn't always require justice to be real. Often, saying it won't go anywhere really means it won't resolve my discomfort. It won't lead to accountability. It won't fix anything. It won't give a clean ending. Hear me now and hear me good. There are no clean endings with grief. Grief's really messy. And it's not about the endings. It's about the journey. It's about turning one's understanding into one's personal inner standing. Show them the light and let them walk in clarity. You never know. You might just learn something. Wanting evidence-based, verifiable, and correct truth to be made known, especially when it's vital, often comes from respect. Respect for another person's autonomy, agency, and capacity, not disregard for their pain. Grief is painful either way, but the pain of truth often heals better than pain with silence. On a final note, and I do have to say this, some people like to keep others in the dark so that they can swoop in at some point and be a saviour. The whole of humanity has been kept in the dark. Our ability to make informed choices has been withheld, and we have been made to feel like we are less than who we really are. Many of us are waiting for someone to miraculously swoop in and save us. It's bad enough that we have been taught to hate ourselves and others. We are divided on lines of colour, religion, education, social awareness, environment, culture. We're divided in so many, too many ways. Let's start being honest with ourselves and others. It's the only way that we can heal ourselves, our traumas, our bloodlines, and the people that we know and love. When we choose to stay divided and keep others in a state of dark division, those who seek to control us continue to use our innate energy, our spark of source power, and flourish more than we could ever imagine. Okay, if I have piqued your interest and you like what you have heard, please hit that like button and subscribe. If this video has touched you in any way and you need to share your thoughts, let me know at deathinpractice@gmail.com. Please state clearly whether or not any of your email can be shared, and if you want a shout out, then let me know what to call you. The workbooks Tapestries of Grief and My Life's Tapestry are available on Amazon. And if you'd like a one-to-one with myself or one of my grief practitioners, contact us at www.dippism.com. You can find more snippets of these videos on TikTok and Instagram, and also other YouTube channels of mine where you can leave your comments. Finally, if someone you know needs to see this video, don't withhold it from them. Let's break the divisions that lead to healing with clarity and share it with them. All of my links are in the description box below. And now, let us close the veil of luminescence. By the breath of the infinite, by the pulse of the sacred, I honour the veil of luminescence now fulfilled. This veil, once summoned to transmute and contain, has held the field with clarity, compassion, and sovereign light. As the teachings settle and the soul integrates, I call forth the sacred closure of this veil across all realms. On the mental plane, let the body rest in renewal. On the emotional plane, let sorrow soften into spaciousness. On the mental plane, let stories find stillness. On the astral plane, let echoes return to source. Through interdimensional corridors, let threads untangle. Across spheres and planetary systems, allow contracts to be honoured and released. Let all residues now return to their rightful place, dissolved, dispersed, or transmuted by sovereign light. Let the veil fold inward, encoded with discernment to preserve what is true, containment to seal what is sacred, compassion to cradle what remains tender, and wisdom to carry forth what has been alchemized. This veil is reabsorbed into the soul's archive, a luminous record of presence, grief, and transformation. By the breath of the infinite, by the pulse of the sacred, I seal this veil with sovereignty and light.